monstrous day for WFAA because tonight we've got the Dallas Wings on our air for a game that is at the American Airlines Center in Dallas against Caitlin Clark and the Indiana Fever. It is the first matchup in the WNBA between Caitlin Clark and Paige Bueckers in Dallas. It's hard to fathom because they've both been in the league for a while now.
Yeah.
But Caitlin Clark missed a couple of games last year due to injury that she would have played at the American Airlines Center. Still was there, still signed autographs for fans. But tonight we finally get to see her take the court in Dallas against Paige. A special moment for the franchise, special moment for us because the game is going to be on our air at 7 o'clock prime time. But there's more, Michelle.
There's more. Your sports consigliere we have a pregame show starting at 6:30. Joe Trahan will host it alongside the Hall of Famer Nancy Lieberman. She's got a lifetime of knowledge when it comes. Wasn't that another movie reference?
She's just a bang.
I got a
If
lifetime
it is,
of knowledge.
I don't know it.
Okay, I'm making things up. But yeah, Nancy Lieberman will be on the show. They will break down what you can expect to see between two of the young faces of the WNBA. Joe Trahan also sat down one-on-one with Azzi Fudd yesterday, and that interview is going to run during our pregame special. Obviously, the news came out yesterday that Azzi is going to have surgery on that right knee. Once again, might be left. I'll double check which knee it is, but it's the same knee.
the right one.
Yeah, I think it is too. But it's the same knee that she had previously injured back in 2023 when she tore her ACL and meniscus. And then in 2019, she tore her ACL and her MCL, and it's all the same knee. So on one hand, obviously some concern around the health of the knee, but on the other, she's proven that she can withstand injury.
Yep.
She knows what it takes to come back, to put in the work, to go through the rehab. So obviously a huge blow to the Wings. They have 5 weeks remaining during the regular season, and of course they're trying to make it back to the postseason for the first time in a number of years. She, with being the best three-point shooter on the team and given her defensive impact, it is a big loss for the Wings to not have her to be able to stretch the floor, and her size to be able to either play on the ball or off of it. Them not having that is obviously a huge blow to the team. It changes how Jose Fernandez has to approach game planning, but at the same time, there are other playmakers on this team, obviously led by Paige Bueckers, but you have an all-star in Enrique Ogunbowale. You have another all-star, Jess Shepard, who made her return from injury last game. Yep. So they have all the makings to be able to find ways to win without Azzi Fudd, but anytime you lose your number one overall pick, it's going to be a blow to the team.
Three-point shooter.
Yeah. So the Wings are just going to have to overcome.
Probably your best on-ball defender. I mean, that is.
Yeah.
I don't want to understate. It is a huge loss. And she's had kind of a up and down rookie year. She's been mostly really good. But yeah, the injury had a bit of a slow start, but that's to be expected when you're a rookie entering the WNBA coming off of a college basketball season. But for,
I vaguely remember at the beginning of the season, she had those couple games that she was not doing well, and then you were like, calm down, guys. It's gonna come around. And then look what happened.
Well, it's like sample size, right? Like,
Yeah.
Look at her in college. She was one of the best players in college basketball for multiple years. She's not going to just show up to the WNBA and all of a sudden become horrible. Like, she was going to be good in the WNBA.
Yeah.
It was just a matter of
acclimation.
when, not if. And she's shown what she brings to the team. And listen, people on the outside discourse is always going to be, how did you take her over Olivia Miles? Well, it still makes sense for what they have on their roster. I mean, they drafted, in my opinion, their best on-ball defender, and she's a rookie, and she was lighting it up from beyond the arc. I mean, she won the three-point contest as a rookie at the All-Star weekend this year, the first one to ever do so. So she is exactly what you want from a perimeter player.
Yeah.
Lockdown defense and can shoot the rock, and they've got distributors. So she fits what they need. The timing of this injury, though, could not have been worse because the team was kind of faltering. They've lost 7 of their last 10, and now you add this injury that's, indefinite for the rest of the season. So you're not going to have Azzi through the end of the year. What does that mean in terms of long-term outlook for this season? Not good. Future-wise, I just don't know what that means. Could they still make a run to the playoffs? Yeah, based on the standings.
Yeah,
it
absolutely.
certainly looks like it. But can they go deep without AZ? I don't think so.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No.
you're going to need that 3-point shooting and the defensive prowess on the outside. I mean, it's not talked about enough. She is 5th in the league in steals per game. It's 1.7 steals per game. So, I mean, losing that, you know.
In the league, not just
In the
among
league,
rookies,
not-
in the league.
Yep.
So, I mean,
This is a big loss. And I don't want to kind of couch it and they'll be fine without her. They might be, but what she brings, they don't have one single replacement.
Yeah.
You might be able to piecemeal it with multiple players that do different things, but you're going to be sacrificing in different elements. You're going to be sacrificing in defense. You might be sacrificing perimeter game. Jose Fernandez, this is your time to shine, buddy, because now you have to be creative with your lineups and what that looks like, and it's going to be very opponent dependent. Not having AZ to play defense on Caitlin Clark is going to be problematic, and Cece is absolutely hooping in the month of August. I mean, she's up to 3rd, I think, in the league in scoring, number 1 in assists, playing at a high level. I think Indiana's up to 3rd now in the standings, and they were kind of a tweener team a month ago. So,
And that's all amidst all of the off-the-court distractions going on for Indiana.
Which we will get to in a little bit because, it's our job as journalists to kind of speak about the elephants in the room as it regards to the WNBA and the discourse that happens off the court. But first, we will talk basketball because it is still a huge game on our network tonight. Jessica Shepard coming back is a big deal. Mm-hmm. They need her. Mm-hmm. They need what she brings from a rebounding perspective. I think she could be the buoy for what has felt like a sinking ship the last 2 weeks.
I agree.
Without her, without AZ, they haven't had a ton of options. When you eliminate 2 of your top 4 players, that's to be expected. My fear is without AZ, how much more is going to fall on Arike? And Arike, while has had a really good career in the WNBA, has really just felt absent at times this season. Think about the loss she had the loss they had a week ago. She had the worst plus minus on the team by 12 points.
She's been very Jake Berger to me. She's been very she's either leading your team in scoring or she's hurting the team
it's a negative impact,
net
right?
Rating. Yeah. So I couldn't agree more. It's felt streaky. It's felt inconsistent and honestly kind of unreliable just because you don't know which one you're going to get any given night.
To be frank, that's kind of been her MO for the last 2-3 seasons, and I just don't know if that's her role, because she used to just be like, hey, Arike, we need 30 points tonight. Go shoot the ball 100 times. Now she doesn't need to do that. So I don't know if it's a rhythm thing or what. Not saying that she's a detriment, but there are moments where it feels like they need her to be at her best. Yeah. And I don't think they make a run in the playoffs unless Arike is playing at the peak of her powers. She was when they made it to the West Final a few years back. We need to see that again this year, especially with Azzi Fudd out of the lineup. But let us get to the opponent for tonight. Caitlin Clark in the house.
Heard of her name?
Suiting up. I think back to last year when they were supposed to come here for 2 games at the AAC, and how many people came from
all over,
so far away. I think there were people from Korea. There's someone international. I think it was Korea or Japan. They came from East Asia to go watch Caitlin Clark.
That's incredible.
Play against the Wings. I don't know if that was because Dallas it was a sensible destination or what. Bigger arena, easier to get tickets. But they turned out in droves, only to be somewhat let down because she couldn't play due to injury, and that was a big letdown. Still, they set the all-time record for attendance for a women's basketball game in the state of Texas.
Yeah.
Which was a no-doubter. It just felt like that was going to happen. Curious to see if they sniff that tonight.
I would imagine that with her playing that they probably will break that. So
especially with both teams being objectively better this year, or at least the Wings being more competitive 100%. As a team.
Yes.
So if you want to see a good game and see stars.
Exactly. Yeah. It should be, in theory, a better game. I remember the Wings game against, I can't remember who they played earlier this year at the AAC. I want to say, was it the Valkyries? They played somebody else earlier this season.
Or might have been the Sky.
It might have been Chicago, yeah. One of them. But leaving the stadium after that game, there were just droves and droves of young girls with their parents. Mm-hmm. And that is, to me, something that you can't like put a price tag on. It's something that in this country for so long just hasn't been like you would see that maybe leaving a concert, like a Hillary Duff maybe I'm not the person to make pop culture references, but
you're doing great.
Yeah, or like a movie, like the Cheetah Girls 2 movie.
Just 2 straight days
with the Cheetah
Girl
Girls in there.
references.
Y'all made a reference to Cheetah Girls yesterday?
Oh yeah, I did.
She
Anyways, it's just that to me was an awesome thing to see. The fact that they're selling out NBA, NHL sized arenas for women's professional sports, and you have like this is 2 of the faces of the league now, and for the next however long 5-10 years. So it should be a good game. It has all the makings to be cinema.
Yeah,
box office.
Let's cue up some of that video from last year. We got 48, VO 48, Brian. This is Paige Bueckers pregame from last year's game against the Fever. And
look at all the little
let's be
girls.
clear. The crowd for CC was enormous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As it is everywhere. But this was the first time in my time covering the WNBA where there was a big swarm of people that rivaled CC's crowd. It was the first time where fans showed up to the arena and they're like, okay, do I want to go get Caitlin Clark's autograph or do I want to go get Paige Bueckers?
Yeah.
And that is now the dilemma with these types of games is which corner of the arena am I running to? And to both of their credit, they both took time. Paige played in the game and still took time to kind of go around that loop and sign autographs for fans. CC, I think, spent like 15 minutes. I just walked her, saw her like weave up and through with the Fever's PR representative and just try to get to as many people as she could within reason.
But I mean, doing stuff like this is how you grow the game.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So like these kids will remember this forever, and they'll come back.
It's very simple stuff. It's just showing face, being kind, and I think it's a mutual understanding of, and parents probably have to help out with this a little bit. Like, hey, she's got a game. She's kind of locked in. She gets asked for autographs all the time.
Yeah.
Just be polite. Hold your thing out. If she doesn't give you a long conversation or a smile, don't take it personally. Like this is, it's a little bit more business. But if you came for an autograph, you got your autograph, then be happy and go about your way. What if? Yeah, this was so hilarious, and also feels like it's becoming increasingly common.
Alarmingly,
sports.
maybe?
I don't know if I just never noticed it, and now that I've got a child of my own, I'm like, why are these babies getting signed out here? Like, is this, who started this trend of signing babies? What? Like that kid's gonna outgrow that jersey in a week if you've got a newborn or a.
He's also crying, screaming.
Also, that's got to be.
Look at his face.
And he's got the sneakers on the mat.
I mean, he's a cute little guy. But
definitely outgrown that jersey by now. I just hope they did something cool with it, like maybe framed it up, put it in this room or something like that.
Got to, right?
But yeah, I mean, that might have been the smallest signature Paige Bueckers has ever had to sign besides like her contract, right? But yeah, I mean that kind of comes with the territory a bit. Assuming Azzi is at tonight's game, despite that she needs the orthoscopic.
Yep, you got it. You nailed it.
If I break it down, I can't say it, but if I can just look at it, orthoscopic knee surgery, just to, I guess it's a clean out, whatever it is. I don't know if she's going to do that today or tomorrow or what, but she might still be at tonight's game. And I just think that because Cece was injured last year and still made the trip, and so perhaps
it
AZ.
says the surgery's for early next week in Connecticut.
Okay, so maybe she's at the game tonight and makes her way through the crowd. Although with knee soreness and an upcoming surgery, I don't know how mobile she might be. With all that, maybe they want to play it safe. But I mean, we have seen her do like shoot around.
Yeah, I mean, she was yesterday.
So
she was shooting.
This feels more of like a super preventative measure. Like we don't want something to get worse.
Especially when it's the same knee that you've hurt twice over.
Like she hasn't been in, she hasn't had any, had a boot on her. She hasn't had crutches or been in a wheelchair or anything like that to kind of help with her recovery. This feels very much like a preventative measure, but I do wonder if her
Probably
presence
the
will be
right
there.
move long term, because like you don't want to tear your ACL a third time. It makes me, it's as a Carolina Panthers fan, it makes me think of Thomas Davis. He had a similar situation where he tore his ACL 3 different times, and it became a situation of, is he done for his career? So I mean, if you can prevent that, then why not?
Yeah.
Well, unironically, or maybe ironically, Joe Trahan sat down with Azzi yesterday, and because the news that came out after the interview had concluded that Azzi was going to miss the remainder of this season, because she's suffered substantial injuries to that same knee in previous seasons, Joe Trahan actually asked her about the injuries themselves, her process in recovering them. And Brian, if you want to roll Fudd injury, I thought her answers were really insightful given the context that now she's going to have to kind of lean on these lessons yet again.
It was a shot of you on crutches with the caption, "The only way is through." What does the phrase mean to you?
To me, I think it applied great for my recovery, for my rehab, but I think you can apply that to all facets of life. Whenever you're going through something, the only way is through. Like, you got to weather the storm. I've been fortunate enough to have an incredible circle around me, my parents, my family, my friends, and so to be able to lean on them to get through those hard times, whether it be injury, whether it be who knows what, it could be anything, but to get through that, to just stay persistent, stay the course, and trust the process has been key for me.
What did that resilience teach you about yourself?
Just how strong I am, and being able to look back at those moments and just see the resilience that I had, the strength that I had, and just the love and strength that I had around me and poured into me constantly as well. It brings you such a huge sense of gratitude as well.
You go through all that, and then you help UConn win a national championship. Most outstanding player. Did that victory validate you, or did it heal you?
I would say it felt like, I still don't even know how to properly put it into words, what that feeling was, but it was like no better feeling, especially to do it with that group. Like you mentioned the stuff I've been through, but that group had, each individual person had their own battles they were going through. And then as a group, we had our ups and downs over the years. So to be able to win it with that group, be able to be resilient, be able to get through it, it definitely meant like a lot more than just a normal win.
And then, what was it, 5 minutes later?
30, but yes, felt like 5.
The press release went out that she's having the procedure done and she'll miss the rest of the season. Listen, I get it from a Wings PR perspective. You don't want to let that be known before the interview. The interview is more of a wide-ranging
Thing
about the journey,
Yeah.
right? And not so much about
That was one topic among many. Yeah.
right. But you could kind of see some of the wheels turning in her head, like, he doesn't know.
Yeah.
But that's part of it, right? It's a little bit of a cat and mouse game, and I think it's probably the right decision. As much as it hurts for this season, you do not want to mess with long-term injuries or injuries that could potentially get worse, especially as it relates
to knees.
Yeah.
In basketball, especially young in your career. Like, you want to have a long, successful career. It's okay.
On that exact note, that was another thing that Joe talked to Azzi about, was her own perspective on how much she can continue to improve. And Brian, that's thought number 29.
Do you still think you need to do more and continually improve?
Always, and I think that's what makes some of the best players, is that they never settle, never complacent, never think you're too good to get better at something. And that's also probably the result of growing up in a household with 2 coaches and 2 former players, is that you'll get compliments here and there. They're very rare, but you're always reminded of how much better you can be, what else you can do, what you can add, things you can fine tune. And so I feel like that stuck with me on and off the court. Is just, how can I be a better player, better person, better teammate?
Better teammate. Don't tell Von Miller that.
He's the best teammate.
But I think her perspective, you put into your own perspective the fact that she's still just a young 20-something-year-old, right? And she's already been through so much adversity, but also so much success early on. And then you're the number 1 overall pick, and you're going to an organization where there's already like storylines surrounding you. And it's just, I think listening to her it gives you a sense of how just in tune she is with herself, and I think the things that she's had to navigate at such a young age. And it gives you at least hope that she is going to be able to come back from yet another setback on the same knee.
Yeah, it's adversity, right? And it's those challenges, and sometimes they hit when you want them the least,
Yeah.
right? And you learn a lot about yourself battling through them.
Yeah.
Sometimes
it's not her first rodeo, so
right, and sometimes you don't even know what you really learned about yourself until farther down the road,
Yeah.
right? Until maybe you're 30 and you look back, I'm like, oh, I hated that then, but maybe it's a blessing in disguise that I kind of learned, about the awareness and value of this or that or whatever. And again, a lot of these lessons are kind of learned in time, as they are for most adults with anything that's
Yes.
challenging, right? It's, once it happens in the moment, it's very emotional. It doesn't hit you kind of at that time. It takes a period of growth and understanding. And so, but she does seem like very mature, head on her shoulders.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So I have no doubt that, she'll come back with a vengeance, just
Yeah.
the way a lot of competitors do. She's highly competitive.
For me, it's the double-edged sword of like, yes, you've been through it before, so you know what you need to do. I mean, on her Instagram, she put, I know exactly what comes next. Rehab, put in the work, and come back better than before. She's done it twice already. But then the other side of that is like that now the injury history becomes a question. It's like anytime she gets injured, everyone's going to hold their breath and be like,
Right.
So, I mean, that's the unfortunate part of this, I guess, preventative surgery.
Yeah.
Is that now she's kind of got to like walk on eggshells with the narrative surrounding her.
This is a good segue because so much about the WNBA these days, for better and largely for worse, discussion around the league is not necessarily about basketball the way it should be. But that is just the climate of sports that we live in these days, and it's not always going to be about X's and O's. And sometimes it's fans spending hours arguing whether the Wings should have drafted Olivia Miles instead, or comparing Olivia Miles to Azzi Fudd. And if you're the athlete, you should just log off.
Social media altogether. Yeah.
get off
Don't
of
use
that.
the internet.
If you're a young
Use
athlete,
mail.
literally just use it to post and then get
off
out of there because there's just nothing really good of it. People will praise you, that does nothing to benefit you, and then people will criticize you, and that just doesn't do anything to benefit
To
you.
your point, that's how Azzi handles Twitter. I mean, she like hardly ever posts on social media,
Yeah.
and if it is, it's some kind of product that she's promoting or something. So I mean, it's literally just she uses it to get her own platform out, and she does not engage with anybody else in the discourse.
I remember being, a young journalist and just making lots of mistakes young in my career, and the Twitter comments would just light me up.
Yeah.
And I was what, 22, 23 at the time, trying to make it, that kind of thing. And so you take it personally.
Yeah.
You internalize it. You think about it a lot. You bring it home with you to a really gross degree. And then at some point, hopefully most people, reach this conclusion of why the bleep do I care what these people think? Because that person's not paying my bills. That person's not going to go home and love me at the end of the day. Why do I put so much energy into these people, good or bad?
Yeah.
It's congratulations this or you stink that. That's fine. But good or bad, none of it really can change you. It can give you thicker skin, and I do think there's benefits to that to some degree. But when it's internalized, then it becomes a detriment. And so I think a lot of young athletes can kind of learn from some things like this. It's just the discourse around the league. It's going the game is going in such a great direction for women's basketball in the WNBA.
Yes.
For so much of it to be a distraction about other stuff, whether it's contract disputes and collective bargaining, or Caitlin Clark not getting calls from referees, or people just doing like suplexes in the middle of games. Like it's just like, and then of course there's Sophie Cunningham as well, who's just become sort of a lightning rod on her own, just given her political stances and being very vocal and outward about her beliefs, which not all athletes are. Some kind of like to keep it close to the vest. She's been very kind of open about her thoughts about transgender athletes in women's sports. And a lot of people don't agree with her. And where we've seen, to the point where we've seen protests around the country at fever games,
Just like wherever they
outside
go.
the arena. Yeah, and
It wouldn't
one
shock me if
expected-
I wouldn't shock me if there's one tonight.
There's
Correct.
one. WFA was contacted with a heads up that there is one planned for this evening outside of the AAC.
Yeah.
So
Would not surprise me. How many people show up, I don't know. But
Right.
that is kind of the point here of we're not talking about, plus, minus, or
Right.
net ratings in a
Yeah.
game and who's
Or
making a good push for the
defensive frowns or-
playoffs. And, what is this team going to do to overcome the loss of this person or that? It's a lot of off-the-court stuff that has garnered way more of the headlines than the games themselves. And I don't think that's right, though I do think in sports nowadays, off the field, off the court stuff is more interesting to the casual fan
Yeah, that's where
because
Yes.
it's the sensationalized, the TMZ
of it all
aspect of it.
Yeah.
Whereas maybe not everybody is a diehard basketball fan and care about pick and pops. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but Wings head coach Jose Fernandez was asked about the non-basketball discourse in the WNBA these days, and I thought his comments were apropos.
I don't get in. You know what? It's really frustrating. It's a shame. Like I told you guys, I shut my whole thing down. I don't look at it unless my family sends me stuff or really good friends. But I'm not partaking in the circus and everything that takes away from our team, the league, the incredible players and coaches in this league. That's what needs to be talked about. And for one reason or another, the WNBA, it seems that we don't talk about our players and teams and coaches and our game enough. This not happening in the NFL, MLB, NBA. It's so that's all I got to say about that.
I mean, for all he's got to say about that, that was
a lot to say about
pretty,
that.
pretty
There is
acute.
one portion of that I will disagree with him on, is that in these other sports, you do talk about those things. Terrion Arnold has this stuff going on right now, and he just got signed by Seattle. And so, it's part of the Hard Knocks episode. So, there are certain levels to that. It might be on a bigger level and a higher spotlight with the WNBA.
No,
but
think about the Colin Kaepernick of it all.
Yeah, and so
that was national headlines day in and day out. Every outlet was talking about
to say that it doesn't happen, or that it's not happening as much in these other leagues, I think is not the case.
Yeah, that's probably. I think that's the comment coming from a coach that also had to start his tenure with Paisy.
Yeah,
And
no, that's
just
fair.
Nonstop
Yeah.
questions about that. So
That's fair.
that set the tone for his tenure with the Wings.
Yeah.
Right?
And
if
his
you're
introduction to the W.
correct, and having to deal with AZ stands and Paige stands, like filling up comments, and like that's kind of where it comes from. It's not like he stepped in as head coach of the Valkyries, right? Like he's stepped into, welcome to the big leagues. There's going to be fans that are not just basketball fans; they are fans of these as celebrities.
Yes.
You know
And
what I
that
mean?
I think is WNBA culture. I guess that is what differentiates WNBA fandom to me.
Yeah.
Is
Oh,
that
yeah.
you have these die hard. It's almost like you have Swifties.
I was literally going to say it feels very Swifty,
Yeah.
right?
And a Swiftie just being like a fan that is so invested in this person, whether it's a player or a pop
Team
star,
or whatever.
to where they like monitor every singular moment of their lives as best as they can in a way that kind of borders with that borders maybe
Too far.
pushing the limits a little bit. But that is to say, like, they love the human, they love the team or the player so much.
It's
not
obsession,
necessarily-
right? They're very
Yes.
obsessed with the athlete, or in this case, like Swifty's a musician or a
Yes.
celebrity.
To where it's not so much just being a fan of the sport. It's a fan of their life beyond.
The sport.
And then
Yes.
to Jose's comments, I think I would agree with.
That I do, yes.
I don't think some other sports have super fans that way. There are big time fans of LeBron,
Yeah.
but
Not to that level.
some of the to the extent that we see sometimes in the W as it relates to AZ or Paige or
Yeah.
Caitlin, like it is an intense
And also,
version.
I will say this. You're talking about that next generation of players for the most part. Like, AZ's 22, I think she is. Paige, young 20s. Caitlin Clark, young 20s. Like, LeBron is 40 something. These are Gen
He's
Zers whose fans kind of span that next generation as well. And so there is a difference in the way that they have had access to their
That's a fair point.
celebrity
True. Very
crushes or
much.
whatever their celebrity.
They came up in their careers in the age of social media, whereas
Streamer
LeBron
culture,
was
TikTok
right before
culture.
that.
They've
Yeah.
cultivated a fan base long before they stepped foot in the WNBA. Kind of similar
Correct.
to
That's a
Caitlin
good
Clark,
point,
right?
Because imagine if like LeBron, he was 18, came up how he did in today's day and age.
Yeah.
That would be to another level that I couldn't fathom.
Yeah, I do wonder about this just because everything is let's find the biggest influencers to buoy our product or company.
Mm-hmm.
I do wonder if like sports goes the route of we're going to take the less talented player, but we'll take the guy who has more followers
On Instagram,
on TikTok or
Whatever.
Instagram or
I mean, we're
something.
seeing that in other industries.
Right, that's what I'm saying is like at what point do they say we'll sacrifice our product to boost our marketability?